Hi guys, I hope you are doing well. I had a really quick little succulent repotting to do, and I thought, you know, it might be nice to make a little video on this as well. I am repotting some string of bananas, and these are their little root tubers. I had a huge, really long, like 3-foot long string of bananas, and if you look in some of my videos, you can see it in some of my tours, my houseplant tours. But it just kept getting infected with mealy bugs, and they kind of took over when we were gone at one point for a few weeks, and really the stems right where it joined onto the roots were really drastically compromised. And so the plant could really never recover and kind of send the nutrients out through that compromised stem to get the very end of the branches really nourished. And so they kept just slowly drying up leaf by leaf by leaf. Despite me trying to keep the bugs down, etc., they could never recover from that initial kind of battle with the mealy bugs, the dreaded mealy bugs, right? So I was going to just dump it out. It wasn't going to recover, so I chopped all of the stems off, dumped the roots out, and then went through the root cluster to make sure and pull out any. I often pin down branches with little, metal clips, and so I didn't want to compost any of that. And so I was going through making sure I got all of the metal clips out. And the root tubers, to my surprise, were still very healthy and nice. Like, they're extremely firm. Some of them are trying to send out new shoots. So I'm going to tilt the camera down and then keep talking and show you guys what I'm going to do with these. Alrighty, so I have a little tray here. These are the tubers that were in good shape. Not all of them were. Some of the tubers were really stressed. Basically, if they aren't getting enough nourishment, the tuber itself will shrivel up and get kind of hollow and spongy. But as long as they're firm and hard like a little potato, they're in good shape, and you can totally plant them and restart. So what I did is cut all of the branches off, as you can see, all the way back to the first or second node. You do want to leave a little branch node. They look kind of like, well, here we go. If I can show, I don't know that that's going to show up, but it's just a slight little bump. You don't have to be too careful. Just don't cut it all the way back to where the bulb is there. Leave a little bit of a stem so that you have usually at least one branching node. And it's not that they can't recover if you cut all of the nodes off, because a lot of times they can. It's just if your plant was stressed already and you're trying to save tubers, then to stress it again by it having to form a whole new node can kind of push it over the edge if it's been stressed. So if you have a plant that really gets attacked with bugs, and it's a plant that has tubers like this, I showed my string of hearts, which that wasn't because it had bugs, although it did have a few mealy bugs on it, but that wasn't what made it need to be cut back. It was just old, and the pot size wasn't able to support, and how crowded all of the tubers were in the pot made it not able to support the branch length that was going on. So what I'm going to do is plant these in this little tray. Typically I would plant them in something with drainage, but I'm not going to water these hardly at all until they start sprouting up, and after they sprout I'm going to plant them into another pot. But I don't have any really thin depth-wise pots. So this tray, these little growing trays, are going to work good. So I'm just going to do that, and then I'm going to take the tubers and just gently kind of wiggle them down in. I'm going to give these guys a little bit of fertilizer just to help, not right away. I'm going to give them about a week to kind of adjust. I'm not going to water them right away either. I'm going to give them just a few days to just adjust and kind of get over the shock of being drastically pruned, and then I wash them off very thoroughly. You can tell that I rinsed them really well, because I did not, like I said, this was a plant that was infected with mealy bugs, and I did not want to keep that going. So I wash these really well. If you have a plant that just is not supporting its branches, maybe got sunburned, there's lots of different reasons you could need to prune a plant back like this. If it's not bug related, you totally do not need to rinse off all of the roots like this. You can just take them right from the pot all dirty and put them into another pot and get them going. But because there was bug issues, rinsing was definitely in order. I am in the process of going through all of my succulents. I've gotten rid of quite a lot of them over the last year. And before you gasp, don't worry, I still have hundreds. I'm not short on succulents yet, but as I'm gaining my health back, if you've watched my channel, you know that my health was very poor when I started doing succulent videos. And the reason is I got into this many succulents, like hundreds and hundreds, I was close to 1,000 succulents. The reason I got into succulents that much, even though I've grown them for years, was because I was trapped in the house and very sick and couldn't go outside. And I am a crazy plant person, and I'm going to just explain this really quick. I'm going to cover these just with a light, just enough to have them covered. You don't want to bury them deeply, just enough to cover them and make sure all the little roots are buried. But I am a crazy plant person. I am an herbalist by trade, and that is my passion: herbs and outside wildcrafting, gardening, all of that kind of stuff. I had my first nursery license, fully licensed business on my own at age 14, selling rare and unusual herb plants to other nurseries. I was a wholesale supplier and had a blast doing that. So as I'm feeling better, I'm getting outside and doing way, way more stuff with my plants out there, way more wildcrafting and harvesting, making all kinds of herbal medicine again. But that leaves me a little bit less time for succulents. And while I still am keeping, like I said, no worries, I still have hundreds of plants left, I am eliminating some of them, paring down, giving some of them away, etc. Partially just because they're growing so big that I can't keep them all in their same containers. I'm gonna grab the camera off the stand and show you a few plants right quick. All right, for example, this guy, this rickrack cactus, is beautiful. You can see it's got some fruit going on here. I made a video a few months back of pollinating the flowers, and we got nice fruit, but it really needs to be repotted, and I have a limited space for large plants in my house. We have quite a small house for as many succulents as I have. This guy needs to be repotted. I'll be doing a video on him soon. Multiple of these guys need to be repotted, and as they get bigger containers and need more space, I'm running out of room. We intended to build a greenhouse on the outside of our house, an attached greenhouse, last year, and that wasn't able to happen last year or this past year. So in 2018 or 2019, we just had so many things to do, we weren't able to get to that. So until that happens, I'm paring down my collection a little. Once we have a greenhouse and I can have huge, it would be my dream to have lots of epiphytes just all over. But until then, I'm paring down so that the beautiful plants I do have the space and the room to grow. This is a ruby cascade peperomia that's out here because he outgrew his hook in the house and wasn't able to get proper light, so he has to get trimmed and put in a different pot. I love the really long hanging draping plants, but once they get below my windows, they start stretching out and getting a little sad on the ends, and I end up having to trim them to keep them nice and healthy. But that's all right. Okay, I think that is all for this video. These guys, like I said, are just gonna sit in here dry for a few days, and then they're gonna get a light little fertilizing with just a plant-based fertilizer that I have that's for tomatoes that I like to use just to give them a little bit of a boost. And then they'll go into a sunny window, or actually I will probably put these guys under grow lights, and then they'll get watered regularly after about 4 or 5 days. They'll get watered regularly, but not much, just a light little bit of moisture until they come up. And when they start coming up, I will make another video and show you guys. And until next time, I hope you are all well and happy growing.